Hey kids, it's Jurassic James, and on this Jurassic James Explains, we're looking at Yangchuanosaurus. I must tell you that when I first saw this figure, I don't even remember how fast I grabbed it. I was super excited because uh, despite them not being entirely scientifically accurate, the Jurassic World lineup of dinosaurs, it's a different species being made, that makes me really excited, and I can share these hidden treasures with everyone. So when I saw this guy, I got super excited. I bought him, and here we are, right? So first and foremost, I want to point out this animal, the box, of course, with box art and all that. Oh, let's see. Yes. So again, these guys don't come with cards or anything, but I must first go over the actual scientific model. Now, the first one I ever received was this guy here, and what's really important about this one, it was made by Safari in 1993, the same year Jurassic Park came out. It came, and this line came with display stands that have a skeleton of the animal as it looks. So in some way, you as a kid can make your own mini museum in your, whatever. But what I really found interesting about it is the choice of having it bend his head down like this. That was really weird to me. I don't know why. Usually the figures have they're attacking, they're making, I don't know. And then the fact that it had one of its forelimbs on the ground, the arms aren't that long. So that was even weird as a kid. But overall, the figure's nice. The big thing to point out with this animal is that it has this crest on the front of its face like that. Now, what's special about that is, first of all, we see a lot of theropods crest structures, and that's one of the easiest way to tell them apart. So, T-Rex doesn't really have big crests, but most of the other theropods do. So it makes them stand out. So that's how we tell Velociraptor from Deinonychus, the skull shaped a little different, little ridges, right? This animal lives in late Jurassic North America, late Jurassic China, and the idea is that it is not a relative of Allosaurus, but it has a very similar lifestyle to Allosaurus. It was a top predator, the largest predator in the environment, and again, different world. Now I'll explain that more later on, but of course the focus of today's video will be the Jurassic World figure that I started talking about first. So here it is. Now one thing I want to point out with it, let's see, we have to free the beast by using the official scissors, Jurassic James. And it's not that much going on here, just a snip here, and that was it. So the idea is, if you look at the feet, which they are attached, so I'm super lazy, so I just pull up the thing like this, and you turn. Oh, they're a little bit bigger. So they have these little pieces of plastic here that all you do is rotate them basically. I don't keep the boxes, so you rotate them, the feet come off, it is now free. Now, as far as it toy playability, what I like the most about it, among other than it being it, is that the skin pattern. Now, again, the scales and skin you're seeing here, there's no proof of that. They were, of course, I think, building a giant, a dam or something. So they were moving all this rock, and they found the bones, the first, their skeleton there. So, as all the Jurassic World Dominion figures have, there's somewhere on the body you can pull up, you can see the DNA code, because kids today can't just enjoy toys; they have to scan something for their phones. Other than that, you can push this thing here, and it does all this. It can move around. That's interesting. So it appears the spring in the mouth isn't working as well, but okay, yeah. So it does like that. That's the thing. You can open and close its mouth, and it rotates around like that. Interesting. That's a weird. Anyway, so the main thing to point out is the problem I have with all of the dinosaur toy figures out there. The tails are too short. It's just a thing. I understand it's packaging. What Dominion has done and Jurassic World has done is they'll usually package them like this, and the tail be an attachment, or in this case, they just put it on like that. But again, the tails are always they're way off for balance. But they compensate for that figure-wise by giving it giant feet, and that helps it balance better. Dinosaur feet weren't that big compared to the body. But what I do love about this are the arms. The arms, look at that. They are as close to accurate as possible in that they are kind of turning in. They're not quite the raptors of the first. They're doing that. In general, know that the theropods, they usually have these 3 fingers, right? So dinosaur ancestors would have had 5 digits, and they lose them going in, so they have these 3. So sometimes the first one, we call it a thumb. It's opposable, a lot of human stuff going on there, anthropology. But for animals, this is the first toe, and the first toe often will be more have a different direction than the other 2 limbs. So it's like this. So it's not quite showing that here, but the fact that the palms are even close to each other, it's better. Like I said, there are crests over the face like this, and this animal was the largest predator in the environment. So in some ways, think of it as Allosaurus is ruling the Jurassic, not ruling, it's not the, actually Allosaurus is the largest animal in its environment. That's next week's video. But the idea is that it's like Allosaurus in a sense of it's this bigger predator, it's there. Now, one thing to point out with this particular species that to show parallels is that global dinosaurs. We see certain, I mean, most of my audience is from, according to the YouTube, are from America. Those of you who are not from America, thank you for also tuning in and hearing me ramble my strange tongue. But the idea is that even though North America is kind of like been this archetype of late Jurassic or Cretaceous, but we start seeing other animals around the world with different variants, kind of, which makes sense. In North America, we have like Allosaurus, and in China they have, Yangchuanosaurus. In North America, we have, for example, Diplodocus, and where he lives, we have Mamenchisaurus. Mamenchisaurus will get us. One day I'll get the PNSO Mamenchisaurus, and I'll give you some video. But this really weird guy here. North America, we have Stegosaurus. Now, the Stegosaurus, they live with it. There's 2 species known. They don't make toys of either. So this is another Chinese Stegosaurus from a slightly different area, but you're getting the idea. So you're seeing, again, a parallel. The difference is these are all different variants, meaning that Diplodocus is a different type of sauropod than Mamenchisaurus. Not just that it's a different genus. They're different genus, obviously, different names, but they're actually different. In the sauropod family tree, they're different branches. Same thing with the Stegosaurus. There's a different branching of different family tree within the group. So right now I'm going to explain that, where this guy fits in with the other theropods. If you don't know, I have a website. And if you did not know, I have, among other things, dinosaur toy pictures on there, and are labeled by classification and time period and all that. Well, I will put a link to that below in the comment section. But in the meantime, I want to give you an example. So the closest thing that you will recognize as a relative of this guy is, wait, where is he? There he is. An animal called Metriacanthosaurus. So this guy is one of the, I think by some accounts, like the least interesting of these like larger figures from this group. But Metriacanthosaurus, and actually, I'm not sure whether they did a video or not, but they should have like tall neural spines on the back. Not like a Spinosaurus, but just taller. And again, but this toy just like doesn't go over it at all. But that's as close as relative. It was so close that, in fact, it was suggested that this is just a different species of this, but no one's really accepted that. But the idea is out there, and that's how science works. Someone goes, here's some evidence, I think this, and then everyone attacks it, So these guys, this is Metriacanthosaurus, and the family, yes, and the family Metriacanthosaurus. This guy's from Europe, this is from China. So Allosaurus is late Jurassic, North America. Its cousin in this line of toys would be Carcharodontosaurus in Africa. They are not like the same family, but they're the same type of animal, right? Meanwhile, I've already told you about the Tyrannosaurus. So the Tyrannosaurus, we have, of course, Tyrannosaurus Rex, the most famous of Tyrannosaurs and dinosaurs of all. It has a cousin from further north called Albertosaurus, North America, and another cousin from Mongolia called Tarposaurus. So you're looking at these 2 guys, and they are theropods from the northern hemisphere. They're Tyrannosaurus. They have bigger skulls for crushing and biting, tiny arms. That's their family, right? Yeah. So by comparison, the Allosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus, that's their family. 2 weeks ago, I went over the Allosaurus, right? So we have Carnotaurus, Rajasaurus from previously, and Scorpiovenator. Yeah, it's a very grumpy dinosaur. And that's one group. Finally, for this analogy, we have the famous and outdated Spinosaurus. We have its cousin from Central Africa, Nigersaurus, and their European cousin, Baryonyx. So these guys all have elongated snouts. They all have these giant claws for fishing. That's their design. They're piscivores and carnivores. The Allosaurus have short arms. They have blunt noses. They have a different design. They're found in the southern hemisphere. So what you're seeing is that just like when I say the word bear, you have an idea what a bear is. Well, there's more than one kind of bear. We have polar bears and pandas and black bears and brown bears and grizzly bears. But there's a group that we call bears. When I say the word dog, you think of your pet basically. But it also that group includes like wolves and coyotes. Those are all dogs or canids. When you think about big cats, Panthera, you think tigers and lions and leopards. Those are a group. So for predatory dinosaurs, the blanket is theropod. But there are Tyrannosaurs, there are Belosaurs, there are Spinosaurs, there are Chronosaurs, and Metricytosaurids. So there are different branches of these groups. So there's common ancestors, there's great-grandparents, and they're breaking into groups. And within each group, you have separate species separated by time and space. So meaning time is in Cretaceous versus Jurassic, and space is in India versus Afghanistan kind of thing. So with that being said, you can kind of see the idea of how these animals work. There's different families. And if you want to get into paleontology for real, if that's your career path, you have to learn these families basically. And I did on my website break it down, showing like here's one group, here's another group, here's another group, but that's where it falls in. So even though in ecology, in the environment, it is essentially the Allosaurus of this environment. It's this large top predator who's hunting and everything, but in family tree, it's closer to this guy than it is to Allosaurus. So what you're seeing is actually something called convergent evolution, where two different groups evolve the same traits and features for the same job in the environment. So that's what's really cool about it too. I mean, I know it's a long walk around, but I think at this point, if you're still watching this channel and this video, you're into that kind of thing. So the idea is that it's important to understand where it fits in the family tree and where it fits in space and time. And that is actually my secret or trick to how I memorize so many of these things. If you think about any random rock unit of time period and location, there may be only 20 dinosaurs there, 15 dinosaurs there, even less sometimes, 6 dinosaurs there. And that, when you put it over the geologic time scale and the map of geography, it's like it makes more sense that way. So that's why this animal, in the long run, that's why I'm very happy to see it existed. I was super excited, and now it's out there in stores. And as you know, the market goes, people will see this one, it's in stores, it's this giant box, it's expensive, and then they'll make other toys of it in other markets. So that's why it's so important to us. And that being said, I will see you next week with Allosaurus. We're doing Allosaurus finally, right? Hey YouTube, this is Jurassic James. I'm just saying you should, if you think that people want to see this, if you think that they should see more of it, you should share it. And if you want to see more of it yourself, you should like, subscribe, and all of the above. Hit the bell and all the other YouTube tricks and things. I get emails every week from YouTube saying, here's why you're not doing good enough. Help me stop those emails. I'll see you later, guys.